They called him the Ice King of Seoul, Kang Junho. At just 28, he had built J1 Group, one of South Korea's most prestigious tech and lifestyle empires, a company known for luxury gadgets, AI breakthroughs, and style that defined modern innovation. He had power, fame, and money, but not a single woman could melt the walls around his heart. They came in waves: socialites, heiresses, influencers, etc. Yet he turned them all away, because before his mother passed away, she made one request: that he would marry only for love, not for convenience, not for business, not for image. And he made a silent vow to her that he would never allow anyone in unless it was real. Junho had just fired his 15th secretary. Some were too slow, some wore perfume that gave him migraines, some couldn't make his coffee the way he liked it, and others were simply too obvious in their intentions. He had told the company more than once that he didn't need a secretary, but his elder sister, Kang Soo-jin, wouldn't have it. She was warm, graceful, and perhaps the only person he truly listened to. When she walked into his office that morning, she told him gently that he needed help, not because he was weak, but because even geniuses couldn't do it all alone. But with her usual quiet authority, she challenged him to sit in on the interviews himself. If he didn't trust HR's choices, then it was time he made one on his own. And so, for the first time in a long time, the CEO himself sat at the panel stoic, silent, and unimpressed. On the other side of the city, Amma Forson, a Ghanaian girl with a degree in engineering from Seoul National University, sat in her tiny one-room apartment staring blankly at her laptop. She had tried everything: dozens of applications, internships, labs, and nothing. As a foreigner, the job market felt like a maze she couldn't escape. With only 3 months left on her visa, time was no longer on her side. Then one message changed everything. Her friend Lara had sent her a job posting, a secretary role at a prestigious Korean company. Amma laughed at first. All the years of sleepless nights studying engineering only to apply for a secretary role, it felt beneath her. But the expression had a way of humbling even the most determined. She printed out her resume, straightened her hair into a puff, and left the apartment with one whispered prayer that today someone would see her heart. Amma sat nervously in the lobby, surrounded by a graceful, confident Korean woman with polished nails, expensive handbags, and fluent resumes. Her blouse was simple, her skin glowed with natural warmth, and her heart beat a little too loudly. She looked down at her hands and whispered to herself, asking God for favor, just a little grace. When her name was finally called, she stood, exhaled deeply, and walked into the room. Inside, Kang Junho sat at the end of the long table, arms folded, gaze cold and unreadable. He had already interviewed 5 candidates, all capable or forgettable. But when Amma walked in, something shifted. She didn't walk like she was trying to impress anyone. She walked like someone who had already lost everything except her courage. He watched her silently intrigued, not impressed, just curious. The panel asked the usual questions. Amma answered with honesty, slightly nervous but unshaken. But it was when the CEO asked his signature question that the air in the room truly changed. He looked her straight in the eye and asked why she believed she was different from the others. Amma paused. Then calmly, she said that she believed she knew what his problem was, and that she was the solution. The room fell silent. She told him that he had fired every secretary because they all tried to get close to him, tried to flirt, dressed seductively, or manipulated their ways into his life. But she had no such plans. She explained that this job was her only chance to stay in the country. One mistake and her visa would be gone. She wasn't about to risk everything for a crush. She admitted almost casually that she had never been in a relationship, that she didn't even know how to flirt, and that most Korean men didn't even see black women like her as dating options. So unless he had his own weakness, she said, he had nothing to worry about from her. At that moment, Kang Junho blinked, and for once, he was completely thrown off script. He cleared his throat, adjusted his suit, and after 2 long minutes of silence, he said she had the job. The panel froze. They stared at each other in disbelief. The Ice King had just hired someone willingly, easily, and then, to everyone's shock, he extended his hand for a handshake. Amma took it firmly with quiet dignity, and something in that brief touch told him that this time things would not be the same. That was the day Kang Junho met the one woman he couldn't predict, and that was the day Amma Forson unknowingly stepped into the center of a storm, a world of luxury, pressure, power, and something far more dangerous than failure: feelings. Join us next time for episode 2. Will Amma survive her first week under the coldest boss in Korea, or will she become the one person who sees the man behind the CEO mask? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.